Okay, what am I getting today?
Okay, we're gonna do some Botox. Actually, it's Dysport, because that's the one that I mostly use.
It's Dysport.
And I like it better, again, because I think it kicks in faster and lasts longer, particularly in my face. Not everyone's the same. Some people prefer Botox. I like Botox too. Some people prefer Xeomin. I like that too. And now we're gonna soon try daxibotulinum toxin and pucker. Do you want your lips done? A little flip there, or you don't care?
Flip. I don't want the one under the nose, remember?
Oh, okay.
It's bad.
So we'll do the lip flip. How's your chin feeling? It's moving. Let's do your chin. Let's stick out your bottom teeth. Your DAO is firing. And let's try the upper. I want to try something new on your neck.
We got to talk for a second.
Let's talk.
So what are we doing today?
When you go to somebody for Botox, the main areas that they're going to offer you is between the brows, forehead, and around the eyes. But there's a lot of fun uses for Botox that are off-label, including for Jillian, we're going to do the lip flip. That's right above her lip. And the reason is she actually has a gummy smile, but when I drop that muscle, it's a little too heavy. So we're trying a different approach, targeting these small muscles around the mouth to see if I can help her gummy smile. And then I'm going to go after her chin, which is about 5 units that I usually use in a chin. And her neck she's complaining about her neck all the time. So I'm gonna inject a little bit of tox into the upper bands of the platysma, which is a muscle that causes the contraction of the neck and leads to her vertical pull. You can see, pull your face down. And part of that she's using is the DAO. This is a depressor muscle that connects to the platysmal bands, and all of that helps with the downward pull of the face. It stops the downward pull so that you have a little bit of an elevation. So we're gonna see.
So how many units are we doing in our...
Okay, so let's do 2.5 for the lip flip today. It hurts. All right, I usually like to tell patients, buckle up, because it doesn't feel good. But it looks good. Perfect, you happy?
Yes, I'm thrilled, it looks beautiful. So when you feel after, you feel it's not...
Needles in your face.
I immediately get a little teary-eyed, but it's really not that painful.
And that's the worst part. That's the worst injection.
It's not that bad. And you're gonna feel, it feels a little numb.
Now make a sad baby face. You see, this is called the mentalis muscle, and it's dimpling on her. And she says she feels tension in it sometimes, which is a common thing. You put a few units in here. Are you okay? Why do you...
Because I'm jumpy.
It's weird. You're usually not at this.
Maybe on camera shy.
Maybe.
No, I'm
I just bruised you there a little. So when you bruise, applying pressure is the best thing. Ice, not that helpful. Pressure.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous, except that nothing's gonna work for a while because it's Botox.
Yes.
Stick out your bottom teeth and say, E. Perfect, relax. Here's this little muscle called the DAO. It doesn't hurt. Again, E. Good, relax. You're pulling from there. And now do it one more time because I'm gonna go after these guys. This band is the worst. Do it again. Mm-hmm. Do it again. Do it again. Good.
Wow. Can you go over how many units, what was used, and what everything's called?
Yeah. So we just treated her platysmal bands, which connect onto her DAO, the depressor muscle. And what we're trying to do here is by getting rid of some of the depressor action of this muscle and these muscles, we can actually reduce the appearance of jowling, which is not really the issue with Jillian. Her issue is more that her neck bands are so strong that on film, on her audition reels, she's seeing that tension and it's aging her.
Because when I'm happy, when I'm laughing,
you can see how she contracts.
And it's like the neck of a corpse.
Yep. And we've noticed that it takes a lot of product in Jillian. So to be honest with you, if I had someone with a budget, this is probably not where I would put their money,
right? Because
it's going to be very costly unless they're okay with paying for that.
Yeah.
And it can take a lot of product in the neck.
Dr. Claire, can you talk about what to avoid and do before your Botox injections?
I'm really only interested in your Advil, ibuprofen. Tylenol is fine. These are called NSAIDs. that increases the risk of bruising tremendously. And the only time that I've really had patients come in that I just can't believe how badly they're bruising is usually related to that NSAID use, or if they're taking an aspirin, all those other things that are blood thinners, but no, people who take those know that they're blood thinners. People say avoid alcohol because it does make you more susceptible to a bruise, but I don't think it's as big of a deal with Botox unless you really, really don't want to bruise. Good lighting is key. A dermatologist's office with bad lighting, it's hard to see the little veins, and you're going to bruise more often if you don't have good lighting, because the dermatologist can take their time and look for the veins so that they hopefully don't bruise you. That being said, no matter how slow and how good I am with good lighting, I bruise people all the time. And the biggest trick that I've learned is pressure. Right out of my training, I used to apply ice. Patients want ice all the time. They think ice is the way to go. Ice is not the best. The best is pressure, holding the bruise so that until it can stop expanding, so it's a tiny bruise rather than a large bruise, is key. And using the V-beam laser for filler bruises has really changed my practice. It helps tremendously, but I wouldn't do it over fresh tox, so I'm not doing it for post-Botox bruises. Thankfully, post-Botox bruises are rarely bad.
What about like arnica pills, arnica cream, bromelain? Are these things that you just take before filler, or can they help Botox as well?
I say why not do it all the time? There's no real risk unless your doctor, your primary doctor, says that there's some contraindication, but arnica has been very helpful for some patients. You want to start it a couple days before and continue it a few days after, as well as bromelain is basically pineapple. It's what's in pineapple, but in a much stronger, potent form versus just eating a ton of pineapple.
Yes.
That can help too if you're a bruiser. If you know you're a bruiser, or if you don't want to bruise, or if bruising upsets you, you might as well do everything to try and prevent it, Botox or fillers. If you really don't care, then I wouldn't waste your time and money taking supplements.
Like, I'm not a bruiser, so I don't do any of that. But if you know you're a bruiser, you know, it's good to recommend things.
Yeah.
How about after Botox? So I just had Botox done. What am I not going to do for the next 4 hours?
So the only rule that I have in my practice is for 4 hours after, you want to keep your face upright. You don't want to lie down. You don't want to bend over excessively. Patients call me all the time when I say that and say,
oh my God, I checked my text messages. I did this. I did this on my computer.
You can do it here and there. You're not doing your yoga Pilates movements, your downward facing dogs. You're not taking a nap. However, patients have called me, oops, I fell asleep. I didn't mean to. I was completely flat on my back. And guess what? Nothing happened. It's just one of these things that
one of the rules.
After the reason it's based on this. After 4 hours, 98% of the protein is taken up into the muscle. So there's not a lot more that you can do with the movement of the protein. It's taken up into the muscle, and that's what it's based on.
Now, what about if I just got a forehead full of tox and then put on a tight hat?
So you also want to try and avoid tight clothing where you've been injected. Another thing that we should mention is sometimes patients realize that they're booked for a facial. No facial, no lasers for 2 weeks. That's important.
So can you tell everybody, if I say I wanted to get a facial this week, but I also wanted to get Botox, I would get my facial now and get my Botox tomorrow? Is that fine?
Exactly. The order of events matters. You want to get lasers, facials before, and then there's really no problem getting your tox after. If it's something like a very aggressive laser, you might want to wait a little bit until the inflammation simmers before putting Botox or toxins in. But it's always better to do a device or a facial before.
Show where it's safe to inject and where it's not.
This is where I inject. I had one patient come to me from a neurologist's office that was injecting, and you'll see in the neurology magazines, they're injecting here, and this is dangerous for droopy lids. Maybe not if you have to as a neurologist, if you're trying to control severe migraines. I don't think that's a great idea, but no derm is injecting down here who knows what they're doing. We're injecting right above the brow.
Can you do Botox and fillers on the same day?
Yes, definitely. That's perfectly fine. I tend to, as a practice, do fillers before my tox, and that's because if the patient faints or passes out and I have to lay them down or anything like that, I just feel like with movement, I'd rather have them upright at the end. And also Botox hurts less and is less creepy as a procedure. So I feel like once they get through the fillers, it's easy to get through the tox. Whereas if you start with the tox, by the time you get to the fillers, they might be a little queasy already.
And people do faint. I witnessed someone faint in your camera.
Oh my God.
To lean him back.
That was nothing. We have something called vasovagal, which is where people's blood pressure drops. and they have seizures sometimes.
But what is it?
It's terrifying.
I've had fillers and Botox. It's painful, but it's not that painful. So what are they fainting from?
Okay, it's not pain induced.
So what is it?
It's your blood pressure dropping from your mental. Basically,
you drive yourself crazy to the point of fainting?
Kind of. And you hold your breath or you hyperventilate. It's like panic attacky.
Is this why sometimes when I watch you doing fillers, you're like breathe through your...
Yes,
you tell somebody to open their mouth and breathe. I tell them to sometimes.
I remind people to breathe. It's when they stop breathing, they're anxious. And you know when the most common time is to pass out? Right when I'm done. So I'm like, that was nice of you to wait till I was done injecting your face to pass out on
only one time in your office before, I think it was the last time we did lip fillers, which was so long ago, but I was feeling really nervous and I started chugging apple juice and I did feel better, but you were like, I've never seen you chug. I chugged like 2 bottles of apple juice.
And the reason that works is because your blood pressure drops and your sugar drops. So most of, this is another, let's talk about this too.
Okay.
What should you do before your appointment if you are someone who's kind of
I didn't eat. Do you remember?
It's the early morning appointments. They don't eat. And I ask this all the time with a new patient who's in, and I'm a little concerned because I don't have that relationship. And they're more nervous when they're a new patient because they don't trust you the same.
Right.
And I ask them, did you eat anything? And if they don't, I have some Fiber One bars. I have apple juice, which people think is a fun treat. And I make sure to get some fluids and some sugar in them, which does help. Another key thing is that your legs should be elevated and you should be in a position, the doctor should have you ready in a chair that they can put you back. You want the blood to flow back to your heart to feel like you get very lightheaded when you go vasovagal, your blood pressure drops, to go back. So these are tricks that are important for your health, because if you're sitting with your legs down and you're not in a chair that can recline, you'll pass out. And you could fall off a chair. It's dangerous. It's not a joke. And people, I would say I have once a week a vasovagal episode.
Wow.
It's the sugar dropping, it's your blood pressure dropping, and it's people who are particularly either afraid of needles or very anxious and have combined with not having drank or eaten enough food. And it's a very common thing to happen in our office because we're doing so many injectable treatments.
If anybody's ever really scared of Botox, do you ever numb?
Yes, but that doesn't, the thing is, it's not the pain that causes it.
I'm off the pain thing.
Oh, sorry.
Do people, because
Yes.
I see people doing injections for Botox online all the time and they're numbing. And
yes.
I don't find the pain to be anywhere near the point of needing numbing.
No, but it helps if you are very phobic of needles.
Okay.
And it helps. There are people who are sensitive.
Yeah.
So why not? There's no real risk unless you're allergic to lidocaine. I hate the feeling of the lidocaine jelly. I would avoid it if I didn't need it. But lots of patients do ask for it. We put in extra timing and we give them a little bit of time and it takes the edge off.
Yeah.
I think it helps.
Yeah.
I'm using Dysport. That's the most common tox that I choose in my practice because that's what I like in my own face and most of my patients like it. But I also carry Botox, Xeomin, and hopefully I'll have daxibotulinum toxin, which is the new Botox, just to give it a whirl. But Xeomin I find is very nice for people who have been too tight from Botox and Dysport. Botox is sort of the generic one that everyone asks for. And Dysport is the one that usually kicks in a little faster and I think lasts a little bit longer. All three of these products have been out for almost around the same time. Not one is better than another.
Right.
They're all good products. Not one is a knockoff of Botox. That's just not true.
Right.
It's that Botox has good brand recognition.
Totally.
And it's a great product and I love Allergan, but I just happen to personally prefer Dysport by Galderma.
Someone, one of my followers says their favorite is Jeuveau. What do you think about that?
You know, so I did try Jeuveau. I don't want to insult the company because I had a bunch of free vials and I tried it on a few patients and a lot of patients didn't notice any difference versus Botox and Dysport. So it wasn't a patient-based thing. I didn't like it in my face. I felt like it wore off quickly, but I would be open to trying it again. It's just confusing. To be honest, it's not always such a science as far as what your derm is using. It's a little more after a while, unless something is showing me that it's better than what I have, I have no need for it. And that's how I felt about Jeuveau. I think it's slightly less expensive sometimes for the dermatologist to buy, but it's not enough that it matters to me to go for it.
Totally. All right, let me know what we should talk about next. Yay!